Hadi Choopan, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated bodybuilders of our time. People talk about Samson Dauda and Derek Lunsford, but in my opinion, Hadi Choopan is the best bodybuilder since Phil Heath himself. In particular, this 2024 Arnold Classic version. And today we are going to prove that with a direct comparison with maybe the best bodybuilder, maybe the second best bodybuilder of all time, Phil Heath, in his 2011 Olympia winning showing. I mean, this is going to show you guys and gals that Phil Heath, he's going to have his hands full with this version of Hadi Choopan. These guys, of course, did compete the one time, 2020, Mr. Olympia, and Phil actually got a victory over Hadi Choopan here. Criminal. It was absolutely a robbery, in my opinion, going off this first shot. I mean, the front double, you can see the midsection was way out of whack for Phil. Obviously, the version we're going to look at today is going to be a whole lot different, though. But I use these side-by-sides, somewhat side-by-sides, for sizing, and you can see Hadi Choopan. His torso, it is immense. He is huge, of course. The limbs, the wheels of Phil Heath. But without further ado, here is the front double biceps pose. Wow. Has Hadi Choopan improved since that 2020 Olympia showing? That was perhaps his worst. It was his worst in placing, obviously. Now, look at this, guys. With that vacuum pose, he is even wider, lat for lat, than he was in the other comparison. And man, oh man. But Phil, he has the midsection much better. Obviously, much better than 2020. A little bit of a Phil-esque bubble gut. Now, the limbs. You see that? Phil, these guys are built totally different. He is a bigger unit in terms of that. So all torso aside, in which case I do give Hadi Choopan an edge, for sure. Look at the arms and look at the legs. Look at the calves. My soul. Hadi Choopan, he is peeled, shredded, and I mean diced. To the socks, as Louis Marco used to say. So that could save him from, losing against this big juggernaut, Phil Heath. So it is absolutely a good case for Hadi Choopan coming out of the front double biceps pose. And then we go into a better shot, at least in this comparison, for Hadi Choopan. Clavicle width, this guy is immense. Him and Derek, you can't say it enough. Them guys are two little bulldogs, is what they are. Now, I think Hadi Choopan getting an easy point here. Now, 2011 Phil Heath, you noticed they don't show the full feet. Some of the shots, very annoying. So I edited. This is from 2013. And I know I don't want to start this debate. 2013, he's bigger, more jacked, separation, but better flow, more aesthetically pleasing. 2011 Phil Heath. But remember, this is the focus of the video, not Phil versus Phil. It is Phil versus Hadi Choopan. Because like I said, this guy, in the grand scheme of things, I think he is underrated. I think this version in particular this version of Hadi, would best, perhaps Big Ramy, and perhaps even Sean Roden, 2018. 2020 for Big Ramy, obviously. But in this shot, in the first two shots, Hadi Choopan, he might be a smaller unit, might be a smaller man, weight size, things of that nature, height and weight, but look how wide his clavicle is. Look how much more peeled he is. And I have to say, I watched the video footage of both of these guys, the 2011 for Phil and 2024 for Hadi, and it does reflect the pictures. Phil, he is bubbly and round, for sure. Now turn to the side. Okay, advantage Phil. And I know you size police will be all over me. Phil Heath, he's so much taller than Hadi. Well, from the side, he crouches down a lot more than Hadi does. But it doesn't matter, because like I said, Phil is winning. And it's interesting. when you hear about guys, oh, they used to be 212, things of that nature. Look at the size. Like I said, a bigger unit of legs. His leg must be, I don't know, 150 pounds a piece. I don't know, maybe 100 pounds a piece, because that would be 200. And that wouldn't leave a whole lot more. Maybe it's an 80-pound leg. I don't know. But they're bigger. So Phil would never be able to be 212. Maybe. I don't know. But having said that, folks, Phil, he is winning from the side. All condition aside. Now, the side tricep, gosh darn it, couldn't find Phil Heath's feet to match up. He was hitting the pose differently. I just don't think this is a fair comparison. Phil Heath, he is so good in that side tricep. I don't even think he was flexed. I don't think his tricep was even flexed here. But still, he's still probably beating Hadi. Hadi looks remarkable in that ab situation. Nice abs for sure. If you were a monkey, you could climb right up there. You know what I mean? Like, grab a hold of the abs. Either way, don't read into that too much, folks. Go to the back. A strong point for both of these guys, I would suggest. Now, Hadi, he is wider than a Boeing 747 jumbo jet. And man, oh man, at the 2020 Olympia, he was making Phil Heath look narrow. He was making them look tiny. Of course, Phil a little bit bigger here. I think Phil lurches forward when he does his back shots. Renders him a little bit shorter. Plus, I think he holds his head forward. But anyway, yeah, it seems like I did missize it. But I think this is how they size up. Now, look at Phil's ginormous calves. You see that? In comparison with Hadi Choopan, definitely an advantage for the gift. Old Dr. Phil, Fiddler's Phil. Who's more conditioned, do you think? Hadi Choopan is peeled in the lower half. From the front, I would have said Hadi. But you look at the back, I honestly think Phil Heath may get an edge. Now, Hadi's back is wider. I think he has a better lat spread till you really look at the detail of Phil. He used to play these stunts with Kai Green, too. Wider than me, are you? Well, take this. And he'd pop out all that separation. Here is the rear double. Not as good of a pose for Hadi Choopan. You can see that in his rear lat spread. He opens. I mean, that guy has maybe the best rear lat spread in the history of bodybuilding. One of them, he'd be top 10. But the rear double, I think he'd be slipped out of the top 20 for goodness sakes in this shot. And Phil Heath, he is one of the few guys that his back double and back lat, they're kind of equally as strong. When you think of his competitors, think of his the competition that he had, Kai Green, obviously his rear double was stronger. So sometimes he would get an edge over Phil in this pose. But not Hadi Choopan. So a close call. I think if you add both back shots up, Phil may get an edge because of the lower half. But I guess on paper it's 1-1 if you want to do it that way. And here's the abs and thigh. I would suggest that Hadi Choopan loves doing it this way. He loves to hit the abs and thigh against Phil Heath. Phil, as good and conditioned as he was, and like I said, I watched both events. I watched both posing routines. When he did slap down that abs and thigh, the fans went crazy. Because you got to think, Jay Cutler at that point in time, his abs and thigh wasn't the best. And obviously the King Coleman. Hate to say anything about him. Have I said obviously too many times in this video? I apologize. But having said that, Hadi Choopan, easy win. Easy win. Here is the most muscular. A good pose for Phil and a good pose for Hadi. Generally, an easy win for Phil and for Hadi. But this is where the unmovable object meets the irresistible force. So who wins? Phil's arms. He is making Hadi look small. And Hadi Choopan, You look at the abs, you look at the separation in his chest, even in the quads. He's making Phil Heath look a little tender, a little soft. Did I missize this one? I don't know. I think that's irrelevant. It's going to be the same situation. It's going to be giant arms, just cartoonish like superhero limbs for Phil. 3-dimensional thickness, pop, wow, versus a granite piece of muscle, the likes of which perhaps bodybuilding has never seen. So Hadi, okay, well, this is maybe a worse shot for Hadi. Don't even show this one. Pretend you didn't even see this one for Hadi. Who would have won that most muscular? If you add them both up, Phil's probably going to get a slice. He's going to get an edge. So I guess if they're not forcing you to hit the crab position, which I think they should, I think you should hit both. They're that different. Hit the first half of the most muscular, and then at the end, hit the call for another round, hit the crab position for a tiebreaker. No? Anyway, well, that's it, folks. That about does it for this one. Phil Heath versus Hadi Choopan. 2 of the best of all time. Oh, I suppose you want to know who I think won. Well, Phil was losing both of the front shots. And I think Hadi Choopan was losing the second 2. With maybe a closer edge to Hadi Choopan in the side. He actually looked pretty decent in the side tricep. But I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. Then you go to the back shots. Arguably, Hadi Choopan winning one with an obvious win for Phil Heath in the other, which gives a slice of an edge for Phil Heath coming out of the 2 back shots. So I guess that cancels out Hadi Choopan's side thingamajigger that I had. But then we get to the abs and thigh. Obvious win for, didn't mean to say that word again. A clear win for Hadi Choopan. And then in the most muscular, is that a clear win for Phil Heath? Some would argue. So on paper, I guess it's a tie game. And I know you guys are outside my place right now. I can see his stones in hand, ready to throw if I awarded this victory to Hadi Choopan. So I guess we'll go with Phil Heath because he's winning on the calves, forearms, a couple little toiletries like that. I guess get him over the edge. But make no mistake about it, folks. Hadi Choopan, he will have some supporters in my comment section below that suggest that he actually won this one. He is defeating Phil Heath. And I'm not going to take any more crap from anybody else anymore when they bad talk Hadi Choopan. When they say that Brandon Curry could beat him. I guess I forgot about Brandon Curry, didn't I? But Sean Roden, Big Ramy, even Samson Dauda, 2024 Samson, and any version of Derek you can toss at this 2024 Arnold Classic version of Hadi Choopan. Hadi reigns supreme. I guess he's not beating Phil at this time. I could do this over in a few years and we'll change your opinion on that. Have a great one, folks.